Hello, I'm Jennifer Southward, a Rotarian and producer for the Rotary Club of Lincoln Lamplighter Tour. In 2003, Rotarians and community leaders from across Lincoln launched the first Lamplighter Tour. It's a tour with a twist. Let our talented guides and actors take you back to the bygone eras of Niagara region. Learn about our rich heritage sites in a most unique way. What you are about to see are highlights over the years of the Lamplighter Tour as we celebrate the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority's 50th anniversary. Now let's go to see Paul, our time-traveling reporter.
This is Paul Phineas de Vere, daredevil, time-traveling 1940s news reporter, bringing you all the greatest news from the 21st century. This is news from the future. I have just arrived in the future. This is October the 30th, 2009, and I am standing in the old barn at the Bulls Falls Conservation Area, where tonight the world-famous Lamplighter Tour will be performing one of their great shows. Behind me, you will see some of the actors rehearsing their roles before the audience arrive in throngs and crowds, and I'm sure we'll all be very much looking forward to a wonderful show. Let's go talk to the cast and crew. Hello, Bev. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I believe everyone's very much looking forward to tonight's performance.
Well, I certainly am.
Good. I have traveled all the way from the 1940s.
Have you?
To be here tonight.
I'm very impressed.
Yes, at great personal expense.
Do you know someone has come back from the 1800s?
Really? They beat me to it?
Yeah, they did.
And who would that be?
Well, he's a reprobate, actually. He's an old sea captain.
Okay, an old sea captain. Well, I'm sure I'll
Yes.
meet him later.
I think you probably will.
Now, Miss Haskins, I wonder if you can tell me about the Lamplighters, your role.
Well, I am the artistic director, which means that I am in charge. Well, charge is a very... it's an interesting word to use when you are dealing with actors. But basically, I sit there and watch them practice their plays and marvel at how wonderful they are.
And I'm sure actors like that. They like being told how wonderful they are.
They do. They do like being told how wonderful they are. Occasionally, I give a bit of a direction here and there.
All along the way, it's the safe way to visit the big city. Some might say it's a tad expensive at $2.80 per round trip. But our sponsor assures us, if you ride with...
Well, thank you very much, Bev Haskins, for the little interview.
You're welcome.
And we hope the show goes well tonight.
It will.
So let's go talk to someone else, shall we? Follow me along here. Let's talk to one of the other stars of the show. And incidentally, she's also a writer. Catherine, the beautiful Catherine.
Niagara to Toronto, 4 times a day. Put your trust in the coach that's grace. Relax, sit back, leave the driving to us. There's nothing like travel on a great coach bus. Sightsee, visit, go dancing, go dine. We'll bring you back safely on the...
Now, I believe you've been a lamplighter for many years, too.
I have. Right from the very beginning.
That's 6 years.
It is. Yep. Written for 5, been in 4.
That's wonderful. And in tonight's show, the flapper scene, you wrote that particular play, too?
I did.
With the
And
flapper?
with all the Jazz Age lingo, and I still don't remember. I already don't remember what it means.
You wrote that and you've forgotten it already.
I have, but that was a few years ago.
Comes over, bent as a clothes hanger.
Drop.
He starts getting cozy, checking out the bugs. You know what I mean. Well, I tell him to go chase himself, but he's completely blotted.
Well, Catherine, I hope you have a great show tonight.
You too.
And I hope you enjoyed meeting Catherine here, and we'll move on and let's go meet someone else. Jerome. This way, folks. Hello, Jerome. This is the Fly Boy. Tell me about the part that you're playing tonight.
Well, it's actually based on a true story about Andy Fromm, who came from out west to train at the Royal Air Force School of Aerial Fighting.
It's the first time I heard of the military doing so. So it was my first solo flight in a Curtiss C-1289, a woefully underpowered craft, as I was soon to discover. And I was just doing turns, flying in circles to gain altitude before attempting any of the maneuvers. And suddenly the stick's unresponsive. It's stuck on something. And I'm trying to clear it and fly at the same time, and I'm losing altitude, but I don't know that. So it turns out to be a mechanic's spanner. It's wedged in the hole through which the stick ascends into the cockpit.
We'll be looking forward to
So I
your
write
performance tonight.
Oh, thank you.
And
I
get a
yours.
big, well, thank you very much. I have nothing to do with this.
No.
Now, who should we go talk to next? Mr. Andrew Fessick, I believe, a very smart young man over here. Andrew, come join us. My goodness, don't you look the part. Look at this handsome fellow.
Why, thank you.
The glasses, the pipe, the suit. Now, Andrew Fessick, tell me about your role tonight.
The role tonight?
Yes.
It's a role of a radio announcer from 1939. I don't know his name. What is my name?
Neil.
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 Neil what?
I don't know, just Neil.
Neil. Okay,
Okay.
so it's a radio announcer from 1939 named
Yes,
Neil.
Paul, this is a truly auspicious day. Our new monarch on her first trip to the Dominion, graciously allowing Ontario to name this new superhighway linking the cities of Toronto and Burlington with Niagara Falls and our neighbors to the south after her royal personage. Benito Mussolini of Italy has his autostrada.
Now, we really have a
New
fun
Jersey's
time in this role,
contemplating the construction of
News
a
of the World.
turn-
That's the scene that we do.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how many years have you been doing this?
Well, off and on, I believe, for about 5 years. My wife and I do it like, as you and your wife do as well.
Yeah, we've done it 5 or 6 years.
And you've had some children perform.
We have, yeah. My eldest son has been in it, and maybe one of these days my youngest son will go in it as well and be a lamplighter. We make it a family affair.
That is one of our hopes, is to get Andrew involved as well.
Good, and you have a huge family as well, so get them all treading the boards and it'll be a wonderful show. The great thing with Lamplighters is that we're learning local history all the time as we go. We live in this beautiful area, but we don't know very much about it.
Joe here, the finest seafaring man there ever was. And I'm here to tell you there's many an adventure to be had out in the high seas, but none more memorable than the time I went a whaling with Andy Fisher of Grimsby. Aye, see, Andy and I, we worked our way on down to Boston and landed us jobs on a grungy, weather-beaten whaler. Top
So we're going to keep acting, right, Andrew?
Well, I do have a question now. You're time travel, so
Yes.
what is the next scene going to be? What's the next Lamplighters venue?
Good question. Well, I've looked into the future. I traveled ahead a little bit further, just a month down the road into the end of November, and we are traveling to Grimsby. Grimsby Beach in particular. There's a lot of local history there. Wonderful characters, even Canada's first Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald. Actually, I'll let you into a secret. I'm playing John A. Macdonald. Yes.
I'm sure
Traveling
you do.
into the future to play John A. Macdonald. I believe he had a bit of a problem with alcohol. I believe you're in this play too, in Grimsby.
Well, I'm in one of the plays. I'm going to be Brother John.
Brother John.
I'll be at the site of the temple, on the foundation of the temple, and I'll be preaching the gospel as people walk past.
Right. Not drinking.
Not at all.
No, you can't drink
I'll
and
be
the gospel
preaching
at the same time.
repent.
Repent. Okay, and my character, Sir John A., could certainly do with some repenting and putting down the bottle. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. I wish you success for your performance tonight.
Our
Let's
pleasure.
put on a great show, and let me just see who I've missed. I believe I've missed Sarah, so follow me along right here. The beautiful Sarah, our flapper girl. And what era do you represent?
1920s.
The 1920s. And tell us something about Flapper.
They're kind of just a really outrageous character, which is what I try to
But
represent.
child, I wonder what a swank girl like me from New York's doing here in little old Beamsville. Well, I'm here with Chic.
Boyfriend,
Barney. This is where Barney is from. His mater
mother.
still lives here, and he thinks she's just dark.
What I know of the 1920s Flapper girls, they were quite wild.
Yeah, they were.
They partied, they danced, they had loud jazz music.
They drank, they smoked, all
They
that kind of
drank, they
stuff.
smoked. Are you drinking and smoking on stage tonight?
Nah, not for me.
No? Good girl. You're too young for that, and it's very bad for you.
Absolutely.
Because I believe this is 2009 now. I am in the future. 2009, that kind of behavior is very much frowned upon. Back in the 1920s, everybody did that. But we're into health and fitness these days, I believe. 2009.
Absolutely.
Well, have a great show tonight.
Thank you.
Okay? Keep it crazy and loud for everyone tonight, eh?
Always.
We're going to look forward to seeing Sarah in the show.
A poem written just before the Great War.
makes things clear. But from somewhere east of Suez, where the roads are at their worst, down to Rocky, Alabama, of the motorist accursed, for bumps and all the ills.
Jeanette, so nice to find you finally. Tell me about the role that you're playing tonight.
Well, it's a ditzy jingle girl for the radio station. I guess she gets her big break with a poem.
Yeah.
And things go awry from there. So.
And the part that I play in this scene, News of the World, my character isn't very impressed with you at all.
No,
because you're a bit ditzy, and I do believe you've been hitting the bottle.
You're the straight man.
I am the straight man. Somebody has to be professional around here, but you're hitting the bottle.
Yeah.
Now, how many years have you been doing the Lamplighters?
Since the beginning, I think so. It's been 6 years.
6
now.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it changes, except for I'm getting stereotyped.
You are getting stereotyped,
Yes.
and you make the newspaper an awful lot.
Well, they're
Every
not
time.
flattering pictures. Let me tell you. Never flattering.
Every time there's a Lamplighter show, she makes the front page or the
No,
center,
nothing, no.
the center page spread or something, you know, with your wild, crazy face that you put on. You know, you have such an animated face, and
Well, this year, with the ditzy character, my husband said, just be yourself.
Rose, where tarnation are my glasses? Oh, she just keeps picking them up and putting them away somewhere. I can never find them. Rose, what'd you do with them this time? Oh, it's you again.
Barney Culp, I believe that's the character you play.
Barney, yes, that's right.
Barney, and what era do you hail from?
Well, I'm many eras. I'm the 5th Barney Culp.
Okay, so there's 4 others before you.
Yes, that's right. Very good.
And
Very
all,
good.
I know, I'm good with the maths.
Yes.
So, all the Culps were from the Lincoln
All from
area?
this area. Yep. All right here. And Barney the 6th is coming along now.
Okay, and all in the farming business?
Yes, all in farming. Yep.
Well, you had an awful lot of lines to say tonight. I mean, you really kept everything with cement that
Well,
that
it's
glued
just-
everything
it's
together.
Just a story. It's a story.
Very important story, you
It's
know.
a story, that's all.
Well done. This is Lorne Gretzinger, our wonderful lamplighter. Now, everyone seems to be called Lamplighters here because we are part of the Lamplighter Tour, but Lorne is the real thing. He really is a lamplighter. Tell me about your duties.
I have fun introducing all of you to our crowd by guiding them into the unknown. So I set them up for you, you know, and make them prime for your dramatic magic.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to present to you a small group from the Rotary Club of Lincoln's Lamplighter Tour who are more than ready and able to take you on a walk down memory lane, into some history of 100 years of Lincoln. So without further ado,
Rose! Rose, where tarnation are my glasses? Oh, she just keeps picking them up and putting them away somewhere. I can never find them. Rose, what'd you do with them this time? Oh, it's you again. Have you seen my glasses? Yeah. There they are. Just like I said, she just keeps putting them away somewhere. Never mind, Rose. I found them. Now, where's my newspaper? Geez, I swear they make the print smaller every week. Can't even hardly make this out. Let me see. Fight for the new hospital. Any farming articles in here? You know, it ain't been a bad year for farming, all in all. At least I got nothing to complain about. Well, I could complain, but nobody would listen, right? My family has been on this land for longer than this country's been around, I'll have you know. Why, I'm the 5th Barnaby Josiah Culp to be farming here. Mostly peaches and some apples nowadays. Rose has been in the kitchen most of the day, making a whole batch apple pies to sell in the market. Oh, people come from all over for her pies. Have you ever had one of Rose's apple pies? Of course, I don't think it hurts that Ted's got my 15-year-old granddaughter down there selling them for us. Oh, pretty little thing she is. Yeah, farming ain't a bad life, especially if Mother Nature don't get too nasty. I've been a farmer my whole adult life. Mind you, I didn't always want to be a farmer. When I was a strapping young lad, I got a hankering to sail out to sea on one of those ships that comes into the harbor right down there. Oh, you remember them schooners like the Sweet Home and the Northern that used to haul the grain and the fruit out of here. Well, that was before the railways got a hold of it. I just figured I'd get on board one of those lovelies and sail away, see some exciting places, live the high life, you know. Well, that's till I heard about Andy. Yeah, Andy Fisher. Joe Moyer told us about him on one of his trips home. Boy, changed my mind about sailing. I still get bad dreams about that. Farming looked pretty good after that, and a lot safer, too.
Blow the man down, bullies, blow the man down. Way, hey, blow the man down. Just give me a whiskey and I sing is a song. Give me some time to blow the man down. Top of the evening there, shipmates. And all you lovely ladies, Captain Joe here, the finest seafaring man there ever was. And I'm here to tell you, there's many an adventure to be had on the high seas, but none more memorable than the time I went a whaling with Andy Fisher of Grimsby. Aye, see, Andy and I, we'd worked our way on down to Boston and landed us jobs on a grungy, weather-beaten whaler. Topsail schooner she was. Repentance was her name. Aye, looked like she'd seen better days, but she was in good shape, really. Her skipper saw to that. A wiry old man he was, a right old tyrant, and meaner than a rattlesnake. Aye, that old curmudgeon, he only had one leg, and in place of his missing leg, he had a chunk of ivory with a silver tip on the bottom. And he used to hobble around on decks on his gimpy old leg and never slip an inch. Aye, tough as whale-eyed he was, but fair, never give a lash unless it was deserved. Well, most of the time, anyhow. See, Andy and I, we got the lash. Though Andy got it much worse than me did, in fact. And all because he saved me life. Why did Andy save me life? See, we was out in the whale boats this one time, and Andy and I, we was rowing away really hard. When we comes across this whale, and the harpooner, he throws his harpoon. Well, the bloody whale takes off like a bat out of hell. And the harpoon rope gets wrapped around my ankle, and I'm about to get pulled overboard when Andy, quick as a wink, picks up the axe and chops the rope clean through just like that. Well, if it wasn't for Andy, I wouldn't be standing here today. Wouldn't that be a shame now, eh, ladies? Hey, well, Skipper, though, he saw it different. He gave Andy 24 lashes. Not once, but twice to within an inch of his life. And all because he saved me from drowning. Well, and because he let the whale get away and all. Hey, it was a rope that done this to me ankle, and that's how I got me lash. Partly because through no fault of my own I got tangled up in the line, and partly because I interfered when Andy got the lash. Right, I'll have the marks on me back for the rest of me life, I will. Well, a little while later on into that whaling trip, we caught us a right mess of whales, we did. So when we runs into this vicious storm that does a lot of damage to our rigging. Well, now after the storm was over, we hove to for a while for repairs. But, well, there was too much damage. So we had to make our way on into Hawaii. Any of you young lads out there ever been to Hawaii before? No? Oh, you gotta go, lads, you gotta go to Hawaii. When one of them hula dancers smiles at you, well... Well, then you know you're in paradise, if you know what I'm saying. Well, about a month later, after our rigging was all repaired and our hull was recocked, we set sail southwards on our way back home. Our hold was almost full of whale oil, and we sailed fair for a while, we did, when suddenly we runs into the doldrums. Aye, the doldrums! The ocean was flatter than the pavement on Main Street, and there wasn't a puff of wind to be had for a king's ransom. And it was hot, hotter than the back end of Hades it was. So for a whole week we had to tow our ship using our whaleboats. When the skipper, he calls us back on deck for a rest from the hot sun. So there we all was, just loafing about on decks trying to stay cool. I was up on the foredecks. The captain, he was way back near the stern sheet somewhere. And Andy, he was way up there on top of the mainmast. He was always up there. Said there was a better breeze up there or something. Well, when all of a sudden, Andy hollers out, "Ship ahoy, Captain!" Captain says, "Where away?" And Andy says, "Hard abating port side, Captain." "Oh, that ain't a ship, that's a whale, a big one." Well, this big whale come charging at our ship, pushing up a huge wave in front of him. Lord thundering Jesus, she was a big one, biggest I ever seen, bigger than all the Jordan Harbour. And the stink from its blowhole, oh, it would have turned your stomach like a rotting pig's carcass. And it was going to charge our ship. A 300-tonner it was. Mind you, it was small compared to this big monster. Well now, when he was about this far away, he turned side on, and with that quick turn and a whip of his tail, he plucked the eye clean out of the captain's head. Did you enjoy that, love? Bless you, bless you. Well, as he passed me by up on foredecks, I could see he had a dozen old harpoons sticking out of his hide. And he looked at me. Eyeball to eyeball, he did. And his eyes was the size of a turkey platter, mind you. And I swear he winked at me as he stormed by. Well, that huge wave, it rolled our ship way over onto its beam ends. The rigging slashed about, making a tremendous clatter. Water come pouring in over the starboard gun. I thought we was going to go over. All our gear what was on decks went rolling off down the lower end. All our boats what was tied up alongside got tore clean away and set adrift. Well, then that monstrous wave, it come under our ship. It come under our ship and lifted, I tell you, like it was just a straw in the water. Then our ship sprang back with a snap like a bullwhip. Well, poor old Andy, he'd been stuck on top of the mainmast all this time. Well, he got whipped clean out of his perch and sent hurtling down to the ocean below. Some say he got swallowed up by the whale. Others say he sank like a stone. Poor old Andy never stood a chance, not from that great height. Alas, poor Andy, I knew him. A fine sailor, a scholar, and a gentleman. Andy Fisher. Blow the man down, bullies, blow the man down. Way, hey, blow the man down. Just give me a whiskey and I sing you this song. Give me some time to blow the man down.
Yep, there were some right fine times in the villages back in the old days. Why, them plank sidewalks, they was real popular. And you should have seen the excitement when we got those electric lights. Why, people get so excited about them, they'd go strolling down Main Street in the evening just to look at them. Of course, not everybody was quite so happy when the horseless carriages came along. Noisy things, and the dust they raised. Some of the fools driving those things took them up to 20 miles an hour. Scared the horses, let me tell you. Oh, nothing ever stays the same, does it? Mind you, we still had the radio. Yep, people and trains. The women folk used to take it to Hamilton every once in a while to do their shopping. Or you could take the radio to Grimsby Beach. And from there, you could get a boat to Toronto. Of course, I never figured out why anyone would want to do that. Would you want to visit a big, filthy city when you got all this right here? Well, things got mighty busy around here when they built that Flyers camp in Beamsville. Yeah, you remember, that was during the First Great War. Why, them bigwigs used to come out from Hamilton on the railway, on the railway, and all spiffed up to do their inspections or whatever they was doing. Why, for a while there, they even called Beamsville the Aviation Burg. Imagine those flyers from all over getting their flight training right here. My brother Edward went too. I'll never forget the day we got the telegram saying he was lost overseas. Ma was never the same after that. Lost, like he couldn't find his way home. He got shot down. Why didn't they just say so? Maybe Ma could have cried then. Funny thing, you know, the townspeople used to get all excited about the Flyers. Well, especially the girls. While if you didn't have a set of wings on your chest, they wouldn't even so much as look at you. Ha! But it was no game they were playing. It was hard work and dangerous too. Well, I think they used to like to horse around a bit. Like the time one of them flew his airplane under the bridge down at the Big Falls. Yeah, I think it kind of took their mind off the serious business they was going to be facing after graduation. Oh, I remember Edward told us about this one fella hailed from Winnipeg. Oh, what was his name? Adam? Alec? Andy? That was it, Andy. Ooh, another Andy come to a bad end. Seems like that name's kind of bad luck in these parts. Yeah, Andy Frum, that was it. Oh, what a story.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is A.M. Frum. Well, more accurately, it was A.M. Frum, since I've been deceased now for 91 years. Huh. Though I came from out west, I was buried in Beamsville, and I've sort of hung out around here ever since. Now, I was sent to train at the Royal Air Corps School of Aerial Fighting, and, well, we only had a few weeks to learn what should have taken us months to master, so they worked us hard, but, well, despite the intense training, we were woefully unprepared should any incidents happen. And the reality of how undertrained I was became clear on the day of my first solo flight. Now, before I went up, a directive came down from Toronto saying in part, stay away from the escarpment, stay away from the escarpment until you have gained sufficient height, stay away from the escarpment or you will not see the sunrise tomorrow. Who knew they were telling the truth? It's the first time I heard of the military doing so. So it was my first solo flight in a Curtiss C-1289, a woefully underpowered craft as I was soon to discover. And I was just doing turns, flying in circles to gain altitude before attempting any of the maneuvers. And suddenly the stick's unresponsive. It's stuck on something. And I'm trying to clear it and fly at the same time, and I'm losing altitude, but I don't know that. So it turns out to be a mechanic's spanner. It's wedged in the hole through which the stick ascends into the cockpit. So I wrench it free, and I toss it in the rear seat, and I look up, and Lord Jesus, that's when I saw it. I was 1,000 feet from the escarpment and 150 feet below it. I froze. I just froze. And I was gripping that stick so tightly, the blood vessels were sticking out. And that's when I knew I had to do something or I was going to die. It was down to me. So I started to bank right into the wind, and I eased up on the stick and went to full throttle. And the engine revved, and the kite started to turn and rise, but slowly, so slowly. And I'm maybe 700 feet from the escarpment, and closing, 600 feet and closing, and I'm screaming and I'm hitting the instrument panel with my free hand and I'm swearing a blue streak at the gods and the machine and at myself for getting caught napping. 500 feet, 400 feet, and I'm still maybe 75 feet below the cliff face, and oh, it's close, it's so close. 300 feet, 200 feet, and the pig airplane starts struggling and snorting, and one cylinder stops firing continuously, and by now I'm crying so hard that I'm blinded by my tears, and then nothing. That's right, nothing. I cleared it. I cleared the cliff face, and there was nothing in front of me but the wild blue yonder, the wild blue nothing, infinity and beyond. Well, that was the day I learned there was a God, and there was death. When I landed, there was a tree branch stuck in my tail skid. I ripped it off when I cleared the cliff face. I was that close. From that day on, a more careful or conscientious airman you'd never meet.
Of course he says that, but didn't he go and get himself killed the very day of his graduation? His family came all the way to Winnipeg to watch him graduate from flying school. And his plane stalls out over the lake. Yeah, right out there. Every once in a while when I visit Edward at Mount Osborne Cemetery, I stop by Andy's grave and say a little prayer for him. Well, once the First Great War was over, the girls had a lot more time for us common fellers. In fact, the 1920s were pretty exciting. Even around here. Mr. Rittenhouse donated that land for the experimental station and a whole bunch of money, too, for a lot of other things, like a library. Of course, it wasn't such a good place to meet the girls, leastwise not for me. I always figured if a girl had her nose in a book, she wasn't going to be much help to me feeding the chickens and picking apples. Mind you, there was one girl. Ruby was her name. I look at her as the beginning of my gemstone period. After Ruby, I courted Opal. Then I married Pearl. When she died, I moved on to my flower period. Well, that's neither here nor there to you, but all that Ruby, she was a real peach, let me tell you. I met her when I went to college in New York for a year. I can't remember why I did that now, but it turns out I was real good at the Charleston. Who'd have thought? Well, I said was. The old knees aren't quite what they used to be. That Ruby and I, we could really cut a rug. You should have seen us. Then I brought her home to meet the family.
Bet y'all are wondering what a swank girl like me from New York's doing here in little old Beamsville. Well, I'm here with Chic.
Boyfriend.
Barney. This is where Barney is from. His mater.
Mother.
Still lives here. And he thinks she's just darb.
Great.
So he wanted me to meet her. And I'm just thrilled to be here with Barney. We're going to the Beamsville Fair while we're here. Sounds like the cat's pajamas. I bet you all are wondering how I came to meet my Barney. Well, a few months ago, me and some friends were ankling around looking for a good place to go dancing. One thing you should know about me right off, I'm a real floor flusher.
She loves to dance.
So we're looking for a respectable joint, you know. Not one of those gin mills, but not too dear, because I haven't got a lot of Mizuma.
Money.
So we no sooner get into this place, this big palooka comes over, bent as a clothes hanger.
Drunk.
He starts getting cozy, checking out the bubs. You know what I mean. Well, I tell him to go chase himself, but he's completely blotto. And then up steps this big six, gives this bimbo the bum's rush right out the door. Well, hot socks, I says. You guessed it. Who is it but my Barney? I can tell as soon as I see him he isn't no dewdropper.
He's the real thing.
Hip to the jive. And then it turns out he's a real Oliver Twist. Well, I go goofy right off. Had to check to see he wasn't insured, though. Ruby's nasty on some other skirts fella.
Some other girl's boyfriend.
No, he was a real Joe Brooks, my Barney. We punched the bag of it.
Chat.
Then he asked me out. Puts on the Ritz and everything. And next thing I know, he's my sheep and I'm his little Shiva. So, here I am in Beamso. And Barney said there's going to be a Dar parade, too. Silly me, I almost forgot the best part. Now, you see, my dapper
Father.
used to do some work politico-wise for Lucky Lindy's pater.
Charles Lindbergh's father.
They were thick as thieves. I got to know Charlie pretty well. If I'm on the level, had a bit of a crush on him. And you've got this little parade thing going here, right? So I figure, hey, a big cheese would be keen. So I get on the hornski.
The phone.
And I call up Charlie. Well, you'd never believe it. One of the aces who taught him at flight training school was stationed here in Beamsville himself during the Great War. So I give the flyboy a dingle, and what do you know? But he says, okie dokie.
He said yes.
Isn't that a stock dollar for old Beamsville-ski? Listen, I hate to break up the party, but I've got to go iron my shoelaces. Where's the John?
I figured out that day I was going to have to find somebody else to feed the chickens. Well, it wasn't long after that the Depression set in. Oh, you know all about that. Mind you, we didn't have it as bad as the fellas out west. We didn't have no drought. But we had our share of hobos coming through, sleeping in the town hall before moving on, looking for work. Harry Reid used to talk about helping a lot of the families in the area out with relief. We didn't have any of that government, what do you call it, unemployment insurance in those days. Oh, well, you do what you can, don't you? And that's what we did. We sold our crops for what we could get and hung on, waiting for things to turn around. Well, what goes around comes around, doesn't it? The government put the nail in our coffins when they decided to build that gall darn highway. You know the one. Geez, I can hear it every night when I'm going to sleep. Hear it? That road ate up hundreds of acres of some of the best fruit land in the country back in the 1930s. Oh, people around here got really worked up about it. Why, us culps, we didn't lose any land sitting right here. But plenty of my friends lost huge parts of their farms and had no choice in the matter either. No, sir. Then they get the brilliant idea to name it after the Queen. Not the Queen we've got today, mind you, her mom. You see, King George and his wife were planning a visit to Canada. So the government figured if they named the highway after Queen Elizabeth, that they might combine to dedicate it. Well, it worked. June's a pretty busy month around here, so me and the missus, we didn't go down to see it all. But I can still remember it being broadcast on the radio.
This is News of the World, brought to you by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, welcoming Canadians from coast to coast. We're transmitting to you from our mobile studio, situated in the beautiful and historic site of Balls Falls, Ontario. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth of Great Britain, on their first royal visit to Canada, will dedicate Ontario's newest superhighway as the Queen Elizabeth Way.
Yes, Paul, this is a truly auspicious day. Our new monarch, on her first trip to the Dominion, graciously allowing Ontario to name this new superhighway, linking the cities of Toronto and Burlington with Niagara Falls and our neighbors to the south, after her royal personage. Benito Mussolini of Italy has his autostrada. New Jersey is contemplating the construction of a turnpike. But as of today, June 7th, 1939, Ontario has the Queen Elizabeth Way, Canada's first superhighway. Just 20 minutes to go until the royal entourage arrives.
And we have been assured they'll be here promptly at 4 p.m.
Let's go down to the roadside and... But first, some background on this wonderful feat of engineering.
Before construction began, road conditions were really terrible.
A poem written just before the Great War makes things clear. But from somewhere east of Suez, where the roads are at their worst, down to rocky Alabama, of the motorist accursed. For bumps and all the ills that traveling gets one onto, the greatest jar you'll give your car is Hamilton to Toronto. I think I did that rather well.
The roads were indeed a disgrace. There were traffic jams between Toronto and Hamilton as far back as 1914. On the Niagara end, Highway 8 is twisty and hilly, has just 2 lanes, and goes right through downtown St. Catharines, which makes it impassable on a daily basis. A new road called Highway 20 was built on top of the escarpment, but people ignored it. They felt it was too roundabout for a visit to the falls.
Work on the new highway actually began back in 1932, when the section from Toronto to Burlington was built, along the section of what was then known as the Middle Road, being between Lakeshore Road, which had too many towns along it, and Dundas Road, which was too hilly.
You wouldn't want to back your Durant up every hill all the way to Burlington.
The Hamilton to Niagara Falls was the next section, and then what to do about the next section to Fort Erie.
Mitchell Hepburn and the Liberals came to power in 1934, just as the second stage was begun. Hepburn liked the idea of a superhighway.
I believe that the construction of a 4-lane highway to Niagara and Fort Erie would vastly increase the number of visitors from south of the border, with an attendant rise in revenue. After all, gentlemen, in this year of our Lord 1937, tourism income topped $125 million, almost all of it from stateside.
But what he really meant to say was...
I think superhighways are neat. I want one.
Then there was the mayor of St. Catharines, Mayor Charles Daly.
People just aren't going to drive an extra 20 minutes along the top of the escarpment to get to Niagara. That route has proven curiously unpopular.
But what he really meant to say was...
I think superhighways are neat. Especially if we can build it to pass right through St. Catharines. Think of the industry it will attract. I want one.
Then there was Highways Minister Thomas McQuiston.
In response to the simplistic question posed by Toronto Telegram, I can only observe the following. On Blossom Sunday of last week, 12 people were injured while trying to get around the Niagara Peninsula. Accidents, I feel, could have been avoided by having a highway that could handle the volume of traffic now appearing on the roads of our province.
But what he really meant to say was...
I think superhighways are neat, especially if I get to build it. I want one.
Niagara to Toronto, 4 times a day. Put your trust in the coach that's grace. Relax, sit back, leave the driving to us. There's nothing like travel on a great coach bus. Sightsee, visit, go dancing or dine. We'll bring you back safely on the Grey Coach Line.
Yes, friends, Grey Coach Lines now travels 4 times a day to Toronto from Niagara Falls, with stops all along the way. It's the safe way to visit the big city. Some might say it's a tad expensive at $2.80 per round trip, but our sponsor assures us if you'll ride with Grey Coach just once, you'll be convinced that the convenience is worth it. Make your next trip Grey. Grey Coach Lines, that is.
Relax, sit back, leave the driving to us. There's nothing like travel on a Grey Coach bus. Yeah!
And then, in the early months of 1939, Ontario bureaucrats came up with the single greatest inspiration in the history of provincial nomenclature.
King George VI and his consort Queen Elizabeth would be coming to Canada to embark on a cross-country tour. For the first time in history, Canada would be visited by a reigning monarch. Oh, Neil, this just in. I've just had word that the royal party has arrived at the St. Catharines train station. Mayor Daly has presented His Majesty with an illuminated address of welcome, while the mayor's daughter Maxine offered the Queen a bouquet of mauve orchids. They signed the city's visitors book and then stepped into the royal automobile, a majestic, deep crimson Buick convertible. They'll be here any second.
Well, let's go down to the roadside and observe the festivities.
Oh, now, Neil, watch this. It's really very clever. I'll explain the situation for the listeners at home. Now, the drapes covering the billboard at the side of the road are actually hiding the plaque of dedication for the highway. Now, an electric beam is being shot across the road, so that as the royal automobile passes through it, the drapes are winched up, thus revealing the plaque. They should be here any moment. Oh, look, I see them. There's King George and Queen Elizabeth in their beautiful Buick convertible. Here they come, here they come. Oh, look, there goes right on time.
Hey, they're speeding up. I wonder what they're playing at.
Very clever indeed. I just hope the people in the crowd knew they weren't going to stop. That crowd's been waiting a really long time.
Well, this is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation concluding its transmission from mobile studios situated in the beautiful historic site of Balls Falls, Ontario. Moments ago, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth of Great Britain, on their first royal visit to Canada, dedicated Ontario's newest superhighway as the Queen Elizabeth Way. To all our dedicated listeners, Canadians from coast to coast, good night and God bless.
Rose! Get out here and clean up this mess. Oh, never mind. I'll do it myself. You don't believe me, do you? I can see by the look on your faces. You're out there doing the math, saying, he couldn't be that old to have seen all those things. Well, all I can say is, it might have been this Barney Culp, or it might have been another one. We've been around a long time, and we're going to be around a lot longer still. Well, I better go and see how Rose is making out with those pies. We're supposed to meet Ted and Barney the 6th this evening. We're going up to Glen Elgin. Balls Falls, as you call it nowadays. Yeah, they're having some sort of ceremony up there. Music and some food. Rose says she's got some tickets and I have to get all dressed up. Well, I don't see why I can't just wear my overalls. It's out in the country, ain't it? Well, you know, it's been nice talking to you. You never know. Maybe we'll talk again one day.
talk to this fine gentleman. What do you think of the show?
I thought it was just absolutely excellent. It was so professional. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much. Any standout bits for you?
Yes, there was one gentleman there that played an Irishman, and he did a superb job.
I wonder who that was. Well, thank you very much for your kind words, sir. Let me just pass on to this gentleman here. How about yourself? Did you enjoy the show?
I enjoyed it very, very much. Very much.
Good, thank you. Anything that stands out? Any problems with the history, you thought?
No,
you enjoy
I
learning
thought
about
it
history?
flowed beautifully from the beginning to the end and brought us up to the time that they did the dedication of the QEW.
Yeah.
And I thought it was masterfully done.
And now you know something about our local history here in the Niagara region.
I certainly do. My knowledge has been improved immensely.
Well, I'm really glad you came. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let me just talk to this beautiful lady over here. We've got to get the ladies in as well. Good evening.
Hi.
Did you enjoy the show?
It was a tremendous show. We loved it. We had a great time.
Would you come again to a Lamplighter show?
We would, absolutely, we would, definitely.
Because you know we're going to be in Grimsby next, but I think tickets are sold out for that, but that's in November.
Oh, I would love to.
But we'd like to do more of this for sure.
We learned a lot of information that
Yeah.
I didn't know, that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah. You come from the
site?
local area, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
Come see us
Thank
again.
you very much. We did.
Okay, there you have it, folks, from some of the audience who came to see the Lamplighter show tonight. Everyone. Oh, we have someone else who would like to add something. Can we just track her down? Is this Janice, I believe? Oh, we got some beautiful ladies here tonight.
Yes, we enjoyed
Let me-
ourselves.
Yeah,
very,
it was
very much.
awesome. With
Yes.
fantastic show.
Yes.
You would come and see us again?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Just let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
we'll-
you're having your next one.
Absolutely, and then we'll try and get some more local history together for you. And
Okay.
it's a learning journey. Learning with
Yeah.
some
Yes.
fun too.
And maybe I'd bring my children too.
Oh, please do. We try and keep it family friendly. No bad language or anything like that, you know.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry about some of the smoking in it, but we didn't like the tobacco. That was something anyway.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for coming, ladies.
Well,
Thanks
thank you.
for having us.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, and you too.
Okay, and let's go back to the studio. Good night.